Welcome to another weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. We are the premier podcast focused on the hobby of collecting autographs and photo ops from celebrities and sometimes not so celebrities. We talk about autograph conventions, on the street encounters, and everything else about this wacky hobby. Tonight we are coming to you on location from scenic Providence, Rhode Island, where we just got finished with Rhode Island Comic Con. But before we get into our Rhode Island Comic Con report, we have our special guest here tonight. We've made reference to him multiple times on the show. And if you are an autograph collector or if you've been a part of this hobby, even a little bit, even marginally, even on the fringes over the past 15 years or so on the East Coast, you've heard of this guy. You've probably encountered this guy at some point or another. Please welcome to the show, Class316, aka Steve. Welcome. Can you hear me, Steve?
Oh! I thought you were saving it or something. Sorry. Yeah. Am I on?
You are on.
Okay.
What's going on, Steve?
Hello there. Yes, I'm finally made it on the podcast. Let me tell you something. It is an honor to be here.
Thank you for joining us. I know that we were trying to figure out one of the things that we had talked about. We tried to figure out a way to work you in so that your appearance would be meaningful and kind of hopefully try to break some new ground. I mean, we've known you for a long time. And your hobby antics are pretty legendary. I mean, there are stories that it's tough when people talk and mention you, that whether it's the infamous Virgil story or the antics with your digital camera with keeping all the pictures on the memory cards, or the chasing people around, or the begging, or I guess the first question is that you sort of become, I guess, kind of an icon of this hobby, an emblem of this hobby for certain people. Do you see yourself that way?
I mean, I kind of do, because I sometimes get recognized by people either from my time on the board or from my blog. They're like, "Oh, hey, what's up? I love your work. Oh, can I get a picture with you?" Like, I've actually had photo requests, believe it or not. Not often, but it's always fun when it does happen. But yeah, I've done a lot throughout my time in this hobby, because I started, it was 2003, and there's many antics. Some I'm not very proud of now, because I'm older now, and I look back and like, damn, I can't believe I did that. Some I still stand by. So yeah, I agree that I'm notorious, in a good way to some and in a bad way to others.
That's fair.
So 2003. So that means you've been active in this hobby for 22 years. And I know from knowing you for these years that saying that out loud, I know that makes you cringe, right?
It makes me cringe to no end. Although, to be fair, it wasn't until I'd say 2009 or 10 where I really, accelerated I really accelerated this hobby around 2009 and 10. Before that, it was mostly cons, to be honest, with a few WWE street meets here and there. But yeah.
So how did you get? So you just rewinding the clock for a second back to 2003. How do you get dragged into something like this?
With the leaf.
Well, you see, it was believe it or not, it was actually discussed on my first podcast appearance, which was actually the Punch Stevenson podcast in 2016, which is by Marked Out admin Greg 2600. But I'll recount the story. So it was 2003, and I was watching Monday Night Raw, and I saw an ad for an auto show, and it was advertising appearances by Jerry the King Lawler and Vern Troyer and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the first day I went there, I met my first two ever celebrity meets and got my first two ever combos. It was Jerry the King Lawler and Vern Troyer. This was so long ago that I didn't even have a proper camera. I had a disposable, which I had to wait to get developed. That's how long ago that was. But since then, I've updated those shots to digital. And as you know, Vern Troyer has since passed away. But I did update to digital before he passed away. So that's
okay.
good.
So, and we all have. I mean, I know my first autograph appearance was in '07, Rey Mysterio at a car dealership, and we can all point to these things, I guess. But all right, but I guess the question is, when do you get bit by the bug? When do you get the urge, the Jones for needing more? Because because there are a lot of normal. I'm going to use a term as I know inflammatory. There are a lot of normal people. They'll go to an appearance and they go, "Oh, that was nice," and then they just forget about it and move on with their lives. That's not what happened to you. You got drawn in. So my question is not so much what the first thing you did was, but how did you get drawn in?
Probably when I started doing WWE airport meets. At the time, I didn't even know how to really look for flights. I would go to airports and make educated guesses. For instance, like the Miz comes from LA. Oh, let's try to see if he's on this LA flight at a time frame that would make sense for him to come in. So I would meet wrestlers in mass this way, and when I would get so much quantity, I guess that's how I got drugged, so to speak.
So you got you got high off of the quantity of, wow, look at what I'm able to accomplish in such a limited time frame. This is pretty cool, that kind of thing.
Correct, and it actually dragged on more with celebrities, and actually I credit Dana here for this because
credit or blame? Credit or blame?
Well, depends how you look at it. But like I was obviously I was meeting non-wrestlers before I knew him, but he got me started on New York City street meets, and my first New York City street meets were Broadway names, and he got me started on those. So I would go on Broadway and I would get quantity on Broadway because I would plan things properly. So that's, I guess, another thing. Wow, look at all this quantity I'm getting. This feels awesome.
Wow, do I owe New York City an apology?
yeah, everybody. Dana got me started on New York City street meets, not on celebrity meets, not even on celebrity street meets, but New York City meets, or I should say New York City street meets.
That's not good, but I mean, I guess I appreciate the credit.
Yeah, hey, I give credit where it's due.
So I think that I've a lot of people love to kind of talk about you and critique your various antics and things, and I found myself many times, definitely more than you even realize, defending you. And I guess my question is, where do you think your reputation comes from, and is it deserved?
Well, a lot of different sources. My antics on the board. Sometimes I get overzealous in real life, so I guess that doesn't help. I guess many different sources, and also people do exaggerate or make up stuff. Like there's a lot of lies and half truths in what people say. This includes, for instance, when people like Jareski badmouth me, for instance, he gives a lot of lies and half truths. I won't get into that now, but. And actually, I'm going to address some lies and half truths when we discuss another topic today. My Legends of the Ring band, which was I actually re-listened to your interview with Terrence so I can write down what I want to address. So yeah, we're gonna address good examples of lies and half truths. But I think that's part of it. My point is lies and half truths may be part of my reputation. Some of it is either undeserved or exaggerated. Some is deserved.
So, because I know, so I have witnessed you in action quite a fair amount at cons and at on the street only a little bit. I can attest to. I love the word you use, overzealous, but it's just shy of what is really happening a little bit. I remember when we were going for The Rock that time, when he was making that Saturday Night Live appearance, and you were going absolutely nuts, getting progressively more anxious about us missing him, and you were running around to pretty much any car that drove up that could be a celebrity car with tinted windows, and started just looking in the windows of these strangers' cars. And I was wondering, do you, in the moment, do you know that you're doing something that is going to be perceived as antisocial, or in the moment you're so kind of feverish to succeed that you don't realize it until afterward?
I think in the moment I do it unconsciously, but I may not say till afterwards, shit, I shouldn't have done that. But I think I've improved over the years. Like I actually don't recall looking into every car, as you say. But I mean, if you're saying I did it, I honestly believe you.
And I remember because I remember being like, oh my god, this is just because you know, it was just sort of it felt like a manifestation of anxiety. But let's go back to that Legends of the Ring, because it is a very funny story, and a lot of us, it's funny to us, I think to me anyway, because you remember it as like this negative thing where you have to correct these myths, you know, these lies and half truths and whatnot. I remember it as just this very, very funny.
Yeah, it was an amazing story.
It was just this amazing sequence of events that it was just really funny, because I think you very much play into people questioning whether what you're doing is a bit or whether what you're doing is real or some kind of combination thereof. So let's walk through that Legends of the Ring story. So, I mean, let's get some facts, I think, established. You were trying to get photos with some of the wrestlers there without paying for them, right?
I'm guilty of doing that at Legend of the Ring, yes. But on the flip side, I've also supported them a lot. Keep in mind, at that time, I wasn't doing all the cons I did today. Wrestling cons were the main thing I was doing. So I would buy the super ticket. I would buy items to get signed. I would buy extra tickets on top of the super ticket autograph. And I would attend multiple shows. So it's not like I wasn't supporting them. Like, to give you an example, if you check into a hotel room and you stay a couple of days, and then during checkout, you know, you're supposed to check out at noon, but I checked out at 4 p.m. You know, did I really commit a sin? Okay, I got a few extra hours, but I've supported this hotel a lot. But yeah, I'd like to actually go back from the start. First of all, when I listened to the interview you had with Terrence, you know, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, because it was a trip down memory lane, and it reminded me of a time when you know, these wrestling cons we used to go to were actually intimate. Like you said, we all knew each other. Like it had the human feeling in it. It was kind of special. And then as things grew, like, it felt more, for lack of a better word, more corporate. It was no longer special. It was more blown up. I should say. A similar thing happened actually to Star Wars. I mean, obviously Star Wars was much bigger than wrestling cons to begin with, but I feel when Disney purchased Star Wars, like, it became less intimate. It was still relatively was owned by a smaller crowd of people, but when Disney purchased it, they blew it up. Now it's like every Tom, Dick, and Harry is into Star Wars.
That's true. Pretty much everything, where anything that starts small, but there is this niche that's popular, it will get drawn out and beaten to death by corporatization. And then we get what we have right now, which is like, now it is true that, you know, and we've said this before, that, you know, we are all coexisting at these cons, but we're so frantically trying to figure out what direction our dollars are flowing in, that we never actually have an appreciation of the moment that we're in. So yeah. Let's drill into that Legends of the Ring then. Did you say you want to, you know, can correct the record? So as far as I recall, now part of the problem is we're talking about well over a decade at this point. So
correct, but I remember it very clearly though. But
I highly doubt that. But go on.
I remember everything very clearly, and some of it is even supported by video. But yeah, well, actually, I want to start by talking about how my first Legend of the Ring. I want to go through my history leading up to the ban and after the ban. So I want to discuss it from A to H to Z. So I mean, my first one was actually before you guys started. It was in April 2007, Legends of the Ring 4. That was the one with Cherry Martel. Sonny was looking good back then. Then the same year was Legends of the Ring 5. I think that's when you guys might have started.
I started with 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was 6 as well.
Okay, but that was the same weekend as the Turnbuckle show. The same weekend I met Dana, and I looked at my picture with Lex Luger from that show. Damn, he looked much more like Lex Luger. And then 2008, I did Legends of the Ring 6 and 7. 2009, I did Legends of the Ring 8 and 9. 2010, I did Legends of the Ring 10 to 11. 2011, I did Legends of the Ring 12. 2012, I did Legends of the Ring. I think 14.
All right, so you're a long-time customer.
Is this like the count?
Okay,
yes.
Correct.
Correct. Well, I'm a long-time customer, spent a lot of money. Now, Legends of the Ring 16 in 2013 was the last one before my ban. So I got banned after this one, basically. And I have to admit, because of everything I said about everything being so intimate and knowing each other and all the money I spent, I have to admit the ban stung. The ban was a little hurtful. I admit that. But some of the reasons I was banned was first alleged mooching, which I admit was true. And then I also allegedly said something, and I quote, nasty to another Legend of the Ring customer's daughter. We'll call him Ralph. So I said something nasty to Ralph's daughter, which again, that's highly exaggerated. I did not say anything nasty. Do you mind if I say what I said? I don't mind. I'll say the sentence. Do you care?
Let's see what it is. I may have to bleep it. Let's see what it is.
Okay. So anyway, like I was seeing Ralph and his daughter for years at cons, and then I saw her there. She had grown up. I was like, wow, look how much she grew up. And all I said was, she even grew a pair. That was my that was my statement. A little bit of poor taste, sure, but nasty. Isn't that exact? Do you call that nasty in your opinion?
Steve.
A little, yes.
Okay,
so
but
is this one of the things you mentioned regretting later in life?
Okay.
I mean, yes, but you see,
this is a perfect example though of why I think you're hilarious, because you're technically correct in this, and this is true often. You're technically correct in that you did not intend to insult anyone, right? You did not. You clearly did not intend to insult. But I think you may have sort of not really been keyed into the idea that a father might not want to hear your
and that's why I spoke to him about it. And Ray told me that he got upset when I said it, but when he got home, he stopped thinking about it, and he didn't want me to get banned. So it's like Terrence and James cared more than the supposed victim.
I mean, I think if I'm being very honest, I think that whatever this comment was, which by the way, it's actually very funny. But I think that the comment was more of a pretext. And the real reason was the mooching, because
stealing.
Mooching is really just a nice way of saying stealing. But I think there was a lot of, and again, you have no control over this, other people and their actions. But there was a lot of mooching going on.
Absolutely, there was a shit ton of mooching. It was happening the time I got banned. It was happening. It was happening in front of me. Other people were doing it in front of my eyes, both the super ticket and vendor guests.
But I think what happens is you at these events, and this is partly your fault and partly not your fault, but you are a high-profile individual at these events, right?
Right. I guess that's part of it.
And because I remember you infamously used to show up with the shopping cart, and it was this very theatrical thing, right, where you were noticeable to people, and then part of that, I know part of it. It just kind of happened, and part of it you got a kick out of that a little bit, being infamous. I know you that was part of it, and so when you would come up with the shopping cart and you played the songs and this and that and do all these outrageous antics, that it makes it so that if a high profile highly visible person is openly stealing in the parking lot, it becomes a situation where they almost feel like they have to act on that more than just some anonymous schmo. You know what I mean? Like how because if other people know you're doing it, it almost validates it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you see, like I said, I worked it out with Ray. Oh shit, I said his name.
Yeah, it's okay. We Steve. We knew who it was. It's okay.
Oh well, I worked it out with him, and I even told Terrence and James that I'm like, okay, look, he doesn't care. Why do you? And I said, you know what? I'm happy to pay you a fine for the mooching. I even offered them money, and I guess that didn't help. So yeah, I guess that was that. Now more comes after the ban. So the next Legend of the Ring was 17. That was also the same year in 2013. It's the exact same year as 16 when I got banned. So at that point, I was banned and not allowed in the show. But I was riding in a car that wasn't mine. It was driven by Dave Dickens, a mutual friend of me and marked out admin Jureski, aka Jerry or Jeremiah, however you want to call him. And he was in the car too. So it was the three of us going to Legends. And I was a passenger. So Jerry actually wanted to meet Dusty Rhodes, and he missed him because we got there a little late, and he didn't know how Dusty Rhodes looked like, so he couldn't even catch him leaving to mooching.
One of the most visual...
I hate when that happens. When I want to meet someone, I don't know what they look like.
Yeah. So here's where more lies are or half truths are said. So at one point, I actually legit needed to take a crap. So I put on the mask, which is what you see in the video. And I went to the bathroom and I crapped, but the disguise didn't help because everyone recognized me.
But you had to know. Okay,
you were planning this. Rey Mysterio wasn't anywhere you were, so why'd you have the mask?
I don't even remember if it was a Rey Mysterio mask, but it was a luchador mask. But
you were trying to be funny and trying to be theatrical.
Maybe, but I legit have to crap. So
we're more than a decade removed from this, and we all knew that this is very much you were trying to be like the Midnight Rider or the Mr. America or whatever. It's a bit, right? That you're a disguise. It's really not a disguise, right?
I guess, but I thought there was a 1% chance it might work. Okay. But anyway, after I finished, Terrence and James were waiting for me in the bathroom. They kind of chased me out of the place. Now Terrence claims I was escorted out of the show, but that was his words. I was escorted out. That's actually not true because first of all, I wasn't on the show floor. It's physically impossible for me to be escorted out of the show floor when I wasn't on the show floor. Now, and when I was chased out, I was still on hotel property. So I didn't leave, and I couldn't. Well, like I said, it wasn't my car, and Dave Dickens and Jeremiah were still at the con. Now, after the video you saw was filmed, I still stayed on hotel premises. So nor was I escorted out, nor was I kicked out, nor anything. I still stayed on premises, and in fact, one of the vendors actually hooked me up with the vendor guest because I couldn't get in the con, so I paid the vendor, and when him and the vendor guest came out, I got a photo off. So it's not like I didn't get any photos there. I did get a photo because, like I said, I was hooked up by a vendor guest, and there was one other guy I wanted to get and couldn't. I needed Abyss without the mask, meaning Joseph Sparks, because I had him with the mask. But eventually, I ended up getting him leaving a WWE hotel, but I didn't get him that day.
Okay, let's zoom out here for a bigger picture kind of thing, because you said I need was the verb that you used. I needed Abyss without the mask when you had him with the mask. And you realize that probably greater than 99% of the population of Earth does not give a hoot in hell about Abyss outside of a mask. And even
or in a mask.
And even the most kind of devoted among our uniquely strange population, like me and Dana included in this, we don't care about that. So what is it that drives? I guess the question is, are you a generally compulsive person by nature, even outside of the hobby? Because this is like very compulsive sort of behavior.
Well, I mean, it's just, you collect wrestlers, you have Abyss, he's a mask, but it's also cool to get Joseph Parks.
Why is that cool?
I mean, it's like why not? You see other people get it. You see him on TV without the mask. You want a picture without the mask. He looks different with and without the mask, just like Rey Mysterio. I have him with and without the mask. You want both because he was on TV as both. It's the same concept.
So, I mean, I think do you ever like sort of sat down and thought that I guess going back to the idea of compulsive, because we all share it to some degree, the need to complete. The need to, we joke about it, right? In this hobby, you have to get everybody, and you have to get them in multiple variations, and then you have to get the autograph that's a certain thing, and there's all these kind of rules you create for yourself. Do you think there's a certain personality type that is drawn to collecting in this way, and do you think that you exemplify that personality type?
Yeah, it is a little obsessive, but it applies across the board. You're saying, okay, most people wouldn't care of Abyss without a mask, but most people wouldn't care to get a picture with Arnold. They might see Arnold in front of, oh, look, Arnold, and they wouldn't even think about asking him for a selfie. People are different. Some people care to get a picture with Arnold. Most people probably wouldn't, and be like, oh, look, cool, there's Arnold, and be happy with that.
Yeah, you're right, and it's funny
true.
Because that's one of the things that I always defended you about and that I admired about. Because you were saying, because we've been saying this recently, but you've been saying this for years, that a lot of the people in this hobby love to pretend that they're somehow better or superior, but that we're really all basically different shades of the same kind of crazy.
I mean, absolutely. Different things mean more to some than to others. Like some people might say, look at you, you're crazy. You spend all this time getting autographs. Meanwhile, that person, himself spends money at a con, like hundreds of dollars on autographs. Yet he's judging you. Meanwhile, if this person would be judged by someone who doesn't do this at all, someone who doesn't do this at all might tell this person, "What? You spend $100 to get this poster signed? You're sick. Who cares?" Like, it's all relative. Everything's relative. Yeah,
it's definitely true. I mean, do you think, and this is something that is kind of interesting and related, do you think that you have sacrificed, because of your pursuit of the hobby, do you think there's any other facets of life, or do you think there's anything that you've sacrificed in pursuit of the hobby?
Absolutely. My time, first and foremost. It would probably depress me too much to say what other things I've sacrificed, but time is a big factor. But actually, getting back to finishing the story on my Legends of the Ring ban, because you kind of cut me off with the Abyss, but I just didn't get to finish the story. Like, after I got banned on that, like, I should say after I got quote unquote escorted out by Clarence and James.
Chase, that was your words.
Yeah, but I used their words, which was honestly untrue because I stayed on premises. But anyway, I still saw them in passing at other cons, and I still said hi to them. And then in 2017, my ban was lifted because I returned to Legend of the Ring after emailing James and asking him if I could return. So I returned in 2017. Then I came to Legend of the Ring once more in 2019. But after that, my wants at Legend of the Ring were dwindling, so I stopped going, and they ceased the operations shortly after that. But you know what? I do thank Terrence and James for all the wrestlers I've met at all the Legends of the Ring. It's not my first con, but it's one of the first cons I attended. So, like I said, I appreciate all they've done, and I thank them again. And if they ran a show and they had people I wanted, I'd attend again. So, and that's all I have to say regarding Legends of the Ring.
Would you mooch in the parking lot?
No, I wouldn't. No, I learned my lesson on that front.
Steve, who are we kidding here? Of course you'd mooch in the parking lot.
Yeah, come on.
No, well, not from Legends of the Ring.
But from other ones?
I won't confirm nor deny.
Because I don't want to go back onto the Legends of the Ring story. I think we've said all we need to say about that. But you kind of have like the fundamental, because you will always tiptoe, and this sort of goes into your own like dictionary that you've kind of created in this hobby. And you like saying mooch. You don't usually like using the word steal, which is the exact same thing. And using your kind of logic, I think after paying this hotel tab tonight, I could probably take the refrigerator and just throw it in my car. So I did support them, and I mean, it would be pretty hurtful for them to, care that I took a pesky refrigerator.
No, it would be more akin to maybe taking some towels or toilet paper, to be honest. But, I mean, there's kind of a difference between mooching and stealing, because when you mooch, nothing really physical is taken. So, using the hotel room analogy as an example again, let's say, you're kind of driving around, you see a hotel room door that's just open. It's not locked, it's open. You park your car, you enter the hotel room, and you sleep for the night, then you go out. Did you really steal? Like, you mooched a night at the room, but did you steal? The room is still there, everything's still there in the room. It was already open, right there for the taking. Like, it's something that was there for the taking. You kind of took it, nobody got hurt, nobody lost money, and you left.
This sounds like something you probably did in the past, honestly.
I actually thought about doing it once, but I didn't, because I was driving and I parked in the parking lot of a motel, and the door was like open. I actually went in and thought about it, but then I didn't do it. So I stayed in the car and took a nap. But then when I woke up, the room was still open. I'm like, shit, I could have slept in that room and no one would have noticed.
I mean, I do understand the logic a little, but the truth of it is, because we have, we've started bringing guests into shows periodically, and there are people who we know who would really love or expect that if we gave them freebies. But once you start bringing guests into shows and running shows, that you realize that every nickel is a battle with these shows and with these guests. And,
absolutely, especially today, they're more expensive than ever. Like 40 is the new 20.
Yes, and so with us, I know so it's very disheartening for us when we're bringing in, because we bring in the guys from Evolve, right? And when we bring in guys from Evolve, and we're responsible for their travel and itinerary for that weekend, and then people we know, they know where those guys are going to be outside of their appearance for us, and they'll do. For example, they'll make it a special effort to try and get those guys for free and not pay us. And it's like, okay, so really what you did was just take money out of my pocket to try, and I'm scrambling to try and break even on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand. I now more than ever, I understand mooching in some way is harmless in the sense that you may not have paid for it anyway. But from the perspective of the person who's paying, whatever we're paying, the talent, it is a very, very uphill battle to get to break even.
I mean, I can understand both sides, but also the talent gives it for free, so that's another,
but oftentimes keep in mind that it is not really the talents to give necessarily. They're on, they're on the clock, so to speak. And they're just doing it because it's frankly easier to say yes than it is to say no. I mean, look, I got into a fight pretty publicly about people trying to mooch my guests at WrestleCon, and it was like these kind of guys, these young kids, they're not going to say no.
Yeah,
they don't want to get into a fight with you in the hotel lobby or whatever. But I don't know. So I definitely. My view on this has definitely evolved over the years because of.
I see what you did there.
What?
Evolved.
I did.
Yeah, there you go.
Intentional, but anyway, I go ahead. Yeah.
I think also you always lean on this whole idea how the item you are mooching is not tangible, nothing is missing. But if it's tangible enough to be bought and sold, it is tangible enough to be stolen. Obviously, people line up to pay money for it, and someone takes it. I'm not just going to put it on you. I think we've all mooched things in the past, some more than others.
Right.
But if something can be bought, something can be stolen. Whether it's real, that you can hold it in your hand, or it has to exist on a memory card. That's just my 2 cents on it.
I agree, but it's a little bit harder to arrest somebody for mooching a photo in the lobby than it would be if you went to a vendor table and stole some merchandise.
Right, but we're not talking about arresting, because truthfully, one of the whole premises is that of this conversation was that these shows were intimate in the sense that these are people you knew. So it's like it feels weird, I think, now realizing that these are people we knew and they were spending money out of their pocket, and then so taking things for free from them.
Right, but again, I also supported them. Yeah, I took a little bit free, but I supported them more than I stole. At least in that scenario.
No, I get it. It's just I'm just feeling it now from people who are supposedly like, oh yeah, we're part of this community, we're friends or whatever, and they're really not behaving like friends in the sense that they are not willing to put a couple bucks in your pocket. And I know that the combo gods must be appeased, and you must all that stuff. Can you explain where that came from? Because you sort of introduced that idea of the combo gods. We Dana and I personally joke about it literally every day. We'll make some kind of joke about it.
That's funny, but yeah, I kind of coined it, but it's just a fancy way of saying, like it's just a fancy way of saying, like us combos, on one sense they're insignificant, but we do it like it's something important. So why is it so important? Because we have to appease the gods. So it's just a fancy way of saying I gotta do this because of there is some greater purpose in this when there really isn't in the grand scheme of things.
So isn't it funny that you can intellectually understand that? Because I do believe there are some people in this hobby who can't, and yet you do it anyway. So I guess the question is, even though you said directly, you just said it's actually meaningless. Like I'm not making that. You just said it. So knowing that it's meaningless, why do you think it holds such sway over your behavior?
Because it's, the way I see it, some people are addicted to drugs. Some people are addicted to cigarettes. This is definitely better than those. It's a metaphorical drug. That's why it holds such value. Like the people who do drugs would view drugs. Oh my God, I gotta have my drugs. It's important. I mean, that's kind of the same thing, except much, much healthier.
But to continue that, if I may, to continue that analogy, and I do believe that analogy is apt, by the way. I think it is a very good one. But isn't it unhealthy to be addicted to anything? And isn't it a goal, or ought it not be a goal of an addict to try to kick the habit?
Yeah, you're right, but some people are not strong-minded enough to do it. That applies for everything. But like I said, it's still better than even cigarettes. Cigarettes is one of the worst things for you. Some people spend money on cigarettes and literally smoke that money away. And what do they have to show for it after that? Unhealthy lungs that are deteriorating. At least with combos, you've got JPEGs, you've got signed items. I think that's the better deal.
I mean, I think I could argue that there's people with filthy lungs that smoke cigarettes that maybe live a little bit more of a normal, conventional life than you do, which would kind of go against saying that addiction is more harmful than your addiction. I think, your life is kind of, I'm not trying to cast judgment here from a crappy hotel room in Rhode Island where I'm in from getting combos. Because believe me, I'm not that far down the block from you. But I mean, I think I don't even think we can really call it a hobby with you. It's not a hobby. It's more of a lifestyle.
And I'd say it's more of a jobby than anything. But
but I mean, you don't make any real money from this. I would say probably quite the opposite.
I make some money from this, but yeah, not enough. If I sold everything I had, I'd probably make more money. But I keep most of my stuff, which is, I guess, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I keep most of my stuff. I sell some of my stuff. I make some money, which helps offset the con costs. But you know what? I view myself as better than somebody who chain smokes. Because somebody who chain smokes is a cigarette addict and are destroying their body. The body is the most sacred thing.
So I noticed before you hesitated to answer a question, so naturally I want to go back to it, about the things you've given up or sacrificed in the name of the hobby, because you are critical of people who, for example, sacrifice their health in the name of smoking, what do you think you have sacrificed or given up?
I told you, my time. My
Besides
time.
your time. Besides your time.
I guess living a more normal life, and I've also I guess I've sacrificed my mental health because sometimes running around stresses me out, so I sacrificed that.
Have you ever experienced a time where you said, "I don't think this is actually even worth it anymore"?
All the time, especially when you fail at time and time again. It's like, oh, why am I doing this? It's not worth it. I want to stop.
But you can't.
Yeah, but then I end up getting an A-lister. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I got that. You know, one perfect example of this is when I recently got Dustin Hoffman, because I think it was 2014 when I first encountered Dustin Hoffman. The spot was like an event, and going back to Jeremiah, he blew up that spot like no other. Like, he blew it up to a point where people blame me for blowing up that spot. I'm like, no, it wasn't me, it was him. And people don't believe me. They're like, no, what the fuck? These people are here because of Jeremiah? No, they're here because of you. I'm like, no, I told nobody. They're here because of him. But anyway, he blew up that spot so bad. And when Dustin Hoffman came, there were just so many people. I managed to get a botched autograph. Some people got photos, including Jeremiah himself. And I didn't get a photo, and I was beside myself that whole weekend. And years went by when I tried to get Dustin Hoffman again, but I never saw him. I tried maybe 2 or 3 times, like I had info, and it never panned out. Then finally in 2024, I got him by pure luck. Like, I was in New York City to basically do some Broadway. Like, I had a lot of Broadway once. So I figured, okay, let me go to New York City. There's this book signing I can do. It was a member of NSYNC that I didn't have. He was doing a book signing. I'm like, I'll time Broadway with that book signing. So let me go to New York City. And while I was there, I think it was my first night there or second night, I don't remember. But one night I was there. I was like at a spot, and I just happened to look on a website that posts pictures from events. I'm like, what? Dustin Hoffman was at that event? He's in town? And then people told me his hotel. They told me the hotel he was at. I'm like, what? He's here? Nobody told me? So, and I heard that he did it for everybody going into the event. So I'm like, shit, what do I do? Do I try for him going out of the event where he did it? Or do I try at the hotel? After much back and forth, I'm like, let me try the hotel. So I went to the hotel, and when he came, I literally had him one-on-one. I pleaded my case. I'm like, look, in 2014, you came to that event. I couldn't get a picture with you. Can I please get a picture with you? And he said, go. And that was a high like no other. It was 10 years in the making. Like, when things like that happen, you remember why you do this. Because the feeling was so great. I finally got a picture with the A-list actor, Dustin Hoffman.
So those rushes, those like successes and like sort of catching that high, that's worth all the sacrifices in like your life of sort of like not having a more traditional and normal life. You've no regrets for those choices?
Mixed. Mixed is the best way to put it.
How long does the high last?
It depends. Sometimes the high lasts a day. Sometimes it lasts a week to a month. But the more long-term happiness, I can still look back at my Dustin Hoffman photo. I'm like, wow, I can't believe how this worked out. And after 10 years of it not working out. So, I mean, things like this, they bring happiness. Just like Dana has happiness getting Hasbro figures signed. He pays hundreds of dollars for Hasbro figures to get them signed, and he looks at them, they bring him happiness. I guess same thing.
That is true. And I just have one follow-up question. You said that you don't smoke because you like to keep, you want to basically only put good things into your body, correct?
Well, I strive to do that. Bad things like sugar sometimes gets in, and French fries sometimes. But yeah, generally, yes.
Funny you mentioned sugar. I was thinking back to when you found garbage bags outside of CVS on the sidewalk filled with Halloween candy, and you took literal garbage and put that into your body.
First of all, this is how lies and half-truths happen. Now, in this case, it wasn't a harmful lie and half-truth. You said it was Halloween candy. but that's not true. It was actually Easter candy. That's a perfect example. Okay, granted, that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, but that's an example of how misinformation about me flows throughout the ages.
That is fair.
That's a perfect example. First of all, it was Easter candy, not Halloween candy, number one.
Have you ever heard the expression, Steve? Have you ever heard the expression, it's a distinction without a difference?
In this case, yes, but in many other cases, no. But yeah, and yeah, they were in garbage bags. It's true, but all the candy was still sealed. Like CVS had just put it in those garbage bags and gotten rid of it to make room for other stuff because Easter was over. It was actually not just me that found it. It was me, Jeremiah, and another New York City grapher named Pablo, who no longer lives in America. But yeah, we found all that Halloween candy and we loaded up on. Now you got me Easter candy. We found all that Easter candy and loaded it up, but the bags were sealed, so it wasn't really garbage. Yeah, they were in garbage bags, but it wasn't garbage. You know, if you found a sealed flat TV in the garbage, is it really garbage? Yeah, it's in the garbage, but it's still sealed by the manufacturer. You open it, it works.
So you ate the garbage in the garbage, but it isn't really garbage.
No, I didn't eat it in the garbage. You know, I took it with me and I ate it. But like I said, they were perfectly sealed bags. Like, how is that eating garbage?
So okay, but I think the point that you're making though is that you're making a technical point. But the big picture is you're willing to engage in what is generally considered socially aberrant kinds of behaviors, like taking food out of the garbage, even though it's fine, even though it's safe. But, you know, it's generally considered socially unacceptable.
Well, I mean, there's a whole Reddit subsection on dumpster diving where people get all sorts of things from the dumpster.
One of the key pieces of that is that is not done in polite company typically, right? But you're also willing to do things like sleep in the car. I mean, I remember one time going to a con. I can't remember which con it was. I was at a hotel. And I I just got off the road after driving and went to the bathroom to pee, and you were just shaving in the bathroom sink in the hotel, public, you know, lobby of a hotel, and you're just very willing to do things that most people are not, for lack of a better word, like sort of violate social conventions. And do you think that, like, I don't know how to ask this question, but do you does that ever give you pause, I guess, or do you not even think about it?
I mean, I realize sleeping in the car has a bad rep, and yeah, I've shaved in the bathroom because I want to look good for my photos, and I don't have a room. But yeah, so car sleep has a bad rep, but there's actually good reasoning behind why I do it. It's much more efficient in many ways, and it's logistically works better. Now, besides the obvious, okay, you're saving money on a room, it just works better for me. First of all, let's assume money was no object. Let's say I booked rooms. Now you see, things change in combo hunting. Things are what's the word? Fluid. You know, you may say, okay, I want to do this. Let me book a room there. But then something else comes out. Shit. Now I don't want that room. So now you just wasted money on a room because you can't use that room because you're doing something else. Now, at least with a car, wherever you go, wherever you sleep. And there's even much more logistical reasons behind the car sleep as well, especially when I do it in New York City. I think my record for sleeping in the car in New York City might have been 11 days in a row, 10 to 11 days in a row. But usually it's 2 to 5 days when I do it. Usually it's 2 to 5 days. But anyway, let's get to the reasons why I do it. Now you guys, if I remember correctly, live in Long Island and roughly an hour from Midtown Manhattan. Am I right?
Yes.
Correct. Now let's say you guys told me, look, Steve, I have a room in my house set up just for you. Here's the key to my house. Whenever you're in the city, you can sleep here, so you don't ever have to sleep in the car. My response to you would be, wow, thanks guys. I appreciate the offer so much. But you know what? It does me no good. In fact, it is crippling. It cripples what I'm trying to do. It's crippling for what I'm trying to do. And let me explain why. First of all, let's say well, first of all, let me tell you how I do things. When I get into New York City, let's say I want to get to New York City on let's say a Wednesday evening, or I get there on Tuesday night, and I commandeer my free parking spot. So that, and I sleep there. And when I sleep there, I'm right next to the spot I want to be, or not, maybe not right next to it, but maybe walking distance, or at worst, a short metro ride, a short train ride. Now, if I'm sleeping at your place, I'm an hour away. So now I'm getting less sleep because I have to get up an hour before. And let's say I drive into the city. Where the hell am I going to park in that city? So I'm losing sleep by driving, and then I have to figure out where I'm going to park. By that time, I miss the person I'm trying to get. So it makes no logistical sense for me to sleep even half an hour away. Because when I sleep in the car in the city, I'm sleeping close to where I need to be. And because of this, I'm getting more sleep than I would if I didn't do that.
So it sounds like, just to boil this down into something that can attempt to make sense, you're focused on the logistics of combo hunting above your own comfort.
But you see, what is the logistics is my number one priority, and I won't lie, saving money is another. Like, imagine how much I'd have to spend on rooms if I didn't do that. But not the only thing. But yeah, saving money is a factor. But you talk about comfort. But what is the comfort? Like, usually I'm out combo hunting till say 2 a.m. When I get into my car, I'm just so tired I collapse. I'm not even thinking about anything. I don't feel anything. I'm just so tired. It's just so easy to close my eyes and sleep because I'm so tired after a long day. So how am I not comfortable? The only way it would not be comfortable is if it were freezing cold outside. And I don't car sleep when it's freezing cold, because my philosophy is, if I can't sleep in the car, I don't bother combo hunting, because the added cost that it adds if I didn't sleep in the car, and the added headache and effort because of the logistics behind it, it's not worth it anymore. So if somehow it became illegal and punishable by a $1,000 fine, if car sleep became illegal and punishable by a $1,000 fine, I'd stop combo hunting, because it's not worth it for me to get a room. It just isn't, because I'm paying extra money and I'm in an inconvenient place. It's no longer, in this case, it's no longer comfortable to combo hunt. So sleeping in the car is what makes it comfortable. And let's not even get into things like tolls, like, the tolls to get in and out of the city. At least when I come to the city and I park, if I'm there for 5 days, I'm paying the toll once. I'm not paying it 3 to 5 times. So that's another factor. So yeah. So as I said, and I'm gonna give you a gas station analogy to like people might say, oh, you're sleeping in the car. That's bad. They may not understand this. So I'm gonna give an analogy that people will understand. Now let's say you're driving a long way and you have very little gas left. Now you have enough gas left in your tank to get to one of 2 gas stations. Now, gas station number 1 is $5 a gallon. It has all these luxurious pumps. It has clean bathrooms, and it smells good. And you have to go 20 minutes out of your way to get to that pump. And on top of that, once you get to that pump, you can only fill your tank in a 70% capacity at $5 a gallon. Meanwhile, you have gas station number 2. Gas station number 2 is $1 a gallon. The pumps are very dingy and run down, but they do work. They're very dingy and run down. They work. The bathrooms are filthy and stink, but it's right off the highway, right there. You don't have to go 20 minutes out of your way. It's right there. And you can fill up your gas 100% capacity. You fill up your tank 100% capacity. And then if you go to the station, once you're done, you might come out smelling a little bit. That's one of the how do you say, one of the only drawbacks of car sleep, because there's nowhere to shower. You're going to smell a little, but I wash up in the bathroom to alleviate that. But yeah, anyway, back to my analogy, station 1 and 2. What do you choose? Do you choose station 1 or do you choose station 2? I choose station number 2 because it's $1 the gallon. It's right there. It might stink a little, but I get my car filled up till the end. So by sleeping in the car, I minimize the debt on my credit card and I maximize the photos on my memory card. Now, if that makes me socially unacceptable, then that's fine with me, because I'm doing what makes more logistical sense. I'm doing what maximizes photo ops. I'm doing what costs the least. So while people mock me and ridicule me for sleeping in the car, like I said, my credit card has the minimum depth, my memory card has the maximum photos, and that suits me just fine. If I didn't sleep in the car, well, I'd have less photos, and I smell a little better to who? You know, to a crowd that's basically the cesspool of humanity.
What makes you say that they're the cesspool of humanity?
You know, graphers are traditionally the lowest cesspool of humanity. That's a general rule. Like, you know, there's graphers that are homeless. There's graphers that do drugs. There's graphers that don't know how to drive. There's like in no sector of life could you ever go and say, okay, here's 5 people that are homeless. Oh, here's 10 people that don't drive. But in graphing, that exists.
But what you're saying, like you're mentioning, and please no more analogies. I think we just had the first like podcast car sleep filibuster in definitely the history of the airwaves. But you're talking an 11 days, that's your record, 11 days sleeping in the car. You are not only sacrificing like a traditional life, you know, all the things that we've sort of talked about already, you sacrifice basic like hygiene. Because, I mean, 11 days sink baths at some random whatever diner or establishment you're going to find, that is not going to cut it. So I think you saying a little stinky is probably underselling what it was.
Well, like I said, I do my best to alleviate it. I mean, I change clothes, I wash up, I put deodorant, I brush my teeth, I shave. You know, when Jeremiah used to sleep in the car with me, he did almost none of that. Although to be fair, we never slept 11 days in the car together. But we did sleep, you know, I want to say 4 or 5 days in the car together. But he would never do any of these things. Like I used to hear people say he stinks in languages that weren't English. I'm not making that up. I'm not trying to badmouth him. This is something that actually happened. And I even told Jeremiah, hey, Jeremiah, why don't you at least brush your teeth? His response, word for word, not trying to badmouth him, I'll do it when I get home. So, but like I said, at least I did my best to alleviate I do my best for hygiene. I do my best under the circumstances.
So you do have some infamous stories, and you know, it's funny because there is so many people now in our marked out orbit were not around back then when you were telling your infamous stories. The time that you successfully bagged an aging actress at Chiller, you know, the various stories you used to tell about the clubs you used to go to and all that. You were kind of a fixture in that way socially of the hobby as well. As you get older, do you find yourself, you know, desiring to be that kind of kooky guy less?
A little bit. I mean, I still enjoy sex. I'm a man, but yeah, I guess as I grew older, I guess I should say I lessened I decreased the public aspect of it. I suppose that's the best way to do it, to say it. I
mean, Steve, I remember fairly early on. I mean, I'm not gonna say right away, but relatively early on in my meeting you, you really didn't know me at all, and you showed me a picture on your phone of you getting dragged around on a leash. So
camera, I believe.
On your camera. Yeah, camera. But there were no phones. See, hey, another. That's another example of things getting exaggerated. Granted, again, it does same difference, but you know what I mean. But anyway, go ahead.
No, and that was kind of your thing. That was your shtick back then, right?
But see, like, most of the time, I don't show it to people unless one, they ask to see it, or two, they try to doubt my ability to get laid. So
why is it so important to you to be right?
Right about
whatever.
You're right about what?
You're hyper fixated on being correct, on being being accurate.
Because a lot of lies are spread about me.
Right, but even about something like, you know,
it could be about not even about you, and you want to be like accurate and have everything a certain way.
I'll give you a good example. So because one of your other hobbies besides this is maintaining the accuracy and in terms of restoration of classic films. You're very, 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 very frustrated at the editing of the I guess after the fact editing of the classic films, whether it's Star Wars and the edits of the special editions, or whether it's Fantasia, or whether it's
Golden Age era cartoons.
Sure, right, whatever. That you have this general fixation towards accuracy and correctness that I imagine much of the population doesn't care a ton about. So where do you think that comes from?
I mean, I disagree that a lot of the population doesn't care, because my Fantasia restoration has gained a lot of popularity. People are going crazy that it even exists, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" So a lot of people do care besides me, but yeah, I do get upset that when people try to edit old works. Old works should be presented as is. They shouldn't be censored. They shouldn't be edited. And if within the Star Wars community, that's actually where this can be seen the most. So you say, "Oh, it's just me." No, but the Star Wars community literally coined the phrase "George Lucas raped my childhood."
No. I didn't say it's just you. But I'm asking you why you have this general feeling that accuracy is extremely important. I understand that editing old works is not desirable, but I find myself unable to conjure up much emotion about it. Where does I'm not asking intellectually why you know what's right and wrong. I'm asking why you care.
Well, because I guess part of the reason a lot of these old works were my childhood, especially Golden Age era cartoons, vintage Disney, Bugs Bunny, all these cartoons were part of my childhood. So now you have corporations saying, "Oh, your childhood was no good," so they try to edit it and censor it and neuter it, and as a result, they're ruining it. And I'm seeing my childhood ruined. So and I feel that's upsetting. That's one reason. And my second reason is because I think one of the most important things in the world is freedom of speech, and they're trying to oppress free speech by censoring, and maybe not in the case of Star Wars, but let's say in the case of let's say Fantasia or Song of the South, they're trying to censor in the name, and they're trying to oppress what you're allowed to see and not see. They say, "No, you're not allowed to see this." No, fuck you. I want to see this. Or I should have or at least I should have the right to see this. At least give people the option to see it. And this applies not just for Golden Age cartoons, but also in the political spectrum, where free speech gets oppressed in supposed democratic nations in Western Europe. They jail people for free speech. And that equally burns my biscuits. I won't get into specifics, not to go on a political tangent, but factually speaking, people in Western Europe, where it's supposed to be democratic, are jailed for thought crimes.
It is true, and I mean, in Germany, France, and the UK, a lot of Americans don't realize that those countries do not have freedom of speech.
Exactly, and that's part of the reason censorship of old works bothers me.
And I think there is a kind of a thread between this. It's all connected. Because we're going way long here, so we want to definitely start winding this down. So I guess, Dana, what's your final thought here for Mr. Steve?
I think it's absolutely an interesting look into what I think a lot of people in the hobby would call a madman. I think you would even be okay with that distinction.
Yeah, whatever.
I think there's a little bit of growth. I did hear you refer to what you did at Legends of the Ring as stealing. I did hear you actually said the word stealing, which I've never. I went years not hearing you ever say that. So I think there's a little bit of growth there. But at the same time, you mentioned how you're all about free speech, and you've literally blown up on me if I even mention something on Facebook about certain features of Facebook that starts with B and ends with K. So I know you're not all about free speech. I think you're still, as most humans are, I think you struggle with a little bit of hypocrisy. I think you believe things that maybe your practice doesn't always believe.
Well, I mean, that's a little different. I mean, if I'm asking you not to say a certain something about me, you know, I'm asking you kind of as a friend not to say it.
No, I know, but there are certain things even about the hobby you get a little bit crazy about.
Switcheroo!
So things like I don't think Steve, I mean this very sincerely. I don't think you or many people really have reckoned with or appreciate how much of the community aspect of the hobby you are almost directly responsible for. Even so much of the vocabulary that is widely used in the hobby has come directly from you. Have you ever thought about that?
I do. I find it kind of funny, but I think, though, I may have coined the words, but not the concept. I think the concept was there the whole time. For instance, you know, I say, okay, this photo is invalid. But I've seen people on Facebook say this photo doesn't count. I mean, that's kind of the same thing. So it's like the concept of invalidity was not my creation, but I may have coined the phrase, okay, this photo is invalid. So the word invalid, maybe I coined it like valid and invalid.
No, yes, yeah. But in terms of how, you know, I think it's safe to say, and again, this is not a universal truth, but there is sort of this East Coast autograph hobby, loosely connected group. Now, I'm not talking about the con people who we all knew, the marked out people, we all knew each other, but there's like this other layer of people who are in the orbit of the East Coast autograph hobby people, and you're, first of all, you're universally known among almost all of them. And
I find that pretty funny.
And you have so influenced the culture of this group in many, 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 many ways. Whether the vocabulary is one example, but also just the overall culture of how the group operates. I mean, the horse trading for secret spots, and the relying on paparazzi, and the flight tracking, and the overall kind of, you know, how it all works. That you've been in the thick of it pretty much as or more than just about anybody. And I think it's such an interesting thing that to outsiders there is the collecting of autographs. Like, okay, there are people. I don't know what I'm even trying to say here. There are people who buy, like, their vision or their idea of collecting in the hobby is like buying old historical documents, and that's all they collect, right? They collect presidential letters or letters from generals or whatever, astronaut signatures that they get through, you know, by ordering them or whatever. That's a whole segment of the hobby, but our segment of the hobby is something different. It's about meeting. It's about photos. It's about the autographs. Sometimes are secondary to this other stuff, but in that sector of the hobby, you have exerted a significant amount of public influence. And then we have not even begun to scratch the surface on all the wacky things that you've talked about or done over the years. Steve, I love telling the story to people about how you were watching Kid Rock chomp on a cigar stub at an airport, and you were documenting, and when he threw it away, that you took pictures of him throwing it away and then snatched it out of the garbage can and sold it.
It wasn't at the airport; it was at an event. But yeah,
this is in any case. The point was this documenting this thing. It's a very, very, very funny thing that most people like. I go, yeah, I mean, that's Steve. That's what he does. It's funny. It's interesting.
It made money.
And it made, so if I want to say, you sold like $75, right?
Sounds about right. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
But that stuck with my head. Or when you when I forget what event it was at, but I think it was Road Warrior Animals face paint scrapings that you scraped them out of the sink.
Yeah, well, that didn't make me money, but yeah.
Do you still have it?
I don't even know. I have to look. I don't even know if I still have it.
Ric Flair's water bottle, I believe you fished out of the garbage.
Yeah, well, yeah, those are. I haven't done these antics in a long time, but yeah.
No, but it's a part of the whole package, right? And you could see. No, it's just interesting how it's a natural. I think that you have recognized yourself that those antics are really just a natural outgrowth. It's taking to its logical end the crazy stuff that we all do to some extent, right? Our desire our inexplicable desire for proximity to noteworthiness. You know what I'm saying? Like, for some reason, we want to be near people who are noteworthy. Your big thing, because you've always had this debate with people. You come up with these names sometimes that you want to meet and take pictures with, and a lot of people go, "Who is that? Who is that? Who is that?" And your answer is, they have a Wikipedia, so they're valid, right?
Right.
And so there is this kind of interesting desire for proximity to noteworthiness. Have you ever thought about what it is that drives you to want to be near or connected to noteworthiness?
You mean why I would want a picture with someone who's on Wikipedia? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Sure. Yeah. More or less. Yeah.
I get. I mean, it's. I mean, why do we all do this? It's like, why do you want a picture with Arnold? You know, he's famous. You
right.
enjoy his movies.
And then there's like Zombie number 3, right?
Right, and I guess I don't go out of my way to desire Zombie number 3, but you know, if he's in front of me, I'll take it just to take it, kind of thing. So,
these are hard questions to answer. I'm not even sure I have an answer for why I do it. Look, today I did something bizarre at Rhode Island Comic Con, right? So, I'm giving away content here now, but I don't care, whatever. I noticed on the website for Rhode Island Comic Con there was a pricing error for Ethan Suplee, where it was he was 60, 60, 100, right? That was his price at the table, and for reasons I'm not quite sure, on the Rhode Island website, his photo op price, or I said it wrong. His selfie price was $100 on the website, but his table combo price was like $50. So I just bought it. And I didn't need Ethan Suplee at all. I don't need anything. I don't need any of this stuff. But I bought it anyway, and I went and I got Ethan Suplee. So sorry, I'm just as guilty. Sorry, excuse me. This is not meant as a critique, but it is an interesting reflection on why we want, you have been a person you comment frequently on validity, right?
Right.
And whether someone's a valid get or a worthy get.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of thinking, that paradigm of thought in and of itself is very strange to most people.
Well, absolutely. Like, much of what we do is very strange to most people. A good example would be my Carlos Santana post, when I posted all the times I tried to meet him and failed. You know, even though waiting at a hotel and airport is normal for graphing, outside of graphing, it's just weird. It's just abnormal. You're a stalker, as you saw by the comments. So yeah, everything we do to an outsider is gonna seem weird. They don't get it. Like, we feel the need to get a photo with somebody, and we're willing to wait at an airport or hotel for it. Other people see that as crazy or insane.
Are there any lines you won't cross in pursuit of combos?
Any lines I won't cross?
Because
I won't break into someone's home.
I apologize. Well, I mean, Steve, there was the Randy Savage incident.
Yeah, there was the Randy Savage incident. Yeah, but I didn't break into his home.
No, but you came damn near close.
You did trespass.
Well, technically, it's only trespassing after you're warned about it. I mean, he technically opened the gate for me. Literally, the gate opened and I drove in, and then he asked me to leave, and I did.
Didn't he also threaten to release the hounds on you?
That's another lie people make up. You know, that he released the dogs on me or threatened to. No, he did not. Now, there were other people that came after me, and he released the dogs on those people. But no, he did it. And also, amongst all the lies that I spread, Randy Savage had a weapon when he confronted me. Again, another lie. He had no weapon. He was actually dressed in NWO black, like black as he would for NWO. He had the bandana, and he came and confronted us, but he had no weapon. He had no dogs, and no threats were made. After I asked for a photo, he goes, "Not right now, brother. I'm gonna have to ask you to get off my property." And I did. So, I mean, what lines were really crossed?
Well, I mean, you have to, I think, concede that is generally considered antisocial behavior.
I agree, but see, a lot of people get celebrities by knocking on their doors. And half the time it works. Just like you go to the airport, half the time it works. You go to the hotel, half the time it works. You go to an event or a premiere, half the time it works. Likewise, when you knock on people's doors, half the time it works, and people do it. I don't do it much. In fact, I've barely ever done it, but I've seen people do it. And again, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just like everything, just like a premiere, just like a Broadway play. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, yeah, but the key difference, and not to be morality police here, but you're talking sort of public locations where you're waiting on a sidewalk at an event that people are sort of willingly going to for business, whereas you went to the home of a reclusive superstar, Macho Man Randy Savage, who was out of the public eye for years, and sort of showed up there expecting and thinking that was like, something that was going to actually yield you a combo.
Well, yeah, but obviously, I said half the time it works. This was a time it didn't. I guess this was a more private setting, but you can go to a public setting and fail. So why? Just like you say a public setting is okay, but you can go to a public setting and fail, just like you can go to a private setting and succeed. So I mean, where do you draw the line from a moral standpoint? If a celebrity is willing to answer a door and do a combo.
No, I think the thing is when you're willing, I guess the thing is when you're willing to concede that you're ignoring normal social mores, then kind of anything goes, right? Is that kind of basically it?
But half the time you've got to do that when you combo hunt, and everyone does it. Like when you're waiting at someone's flight, is that not ignoring social norms when you do that?
And there are lots of people who say that you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and yet a lot of people do it, and again, half the time it works.
Well, first of all, there's half the time. I mean, I'd like to see your studies that back up these numbers. I highly doubt half the time going to Macho Man's house would have worked. But I get your point. You win some, you lose some.
Correct.
But it seems like you put results over sort of having a line in the sand of what you won't do, and that there's no sort of shame or you've mentioned regret. You didn't really get into any of the things you were actually regretful about, but it seems like results sort of trump conforming to laws of just.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, I'll agree with that because you know what? If I start saying having morals and saying, okay, this is inappropriate, I shouldn't do it, I will see other people do it and get results. Meanwhile, I won't get the results. That's how I see it. So results, in my opinion, trump most anything. Like the end result speaks for itself. Like, okay, people will look down upon what you did, but look what came out of it. Yeah.
I guess the ultimate question, which is sort of what chases all of us, and like you said before, Sean, I don't have an answer to this, but like, what is the end result? If Macho Man would have said, "Oh yeah, brother, come over here and take a picture with me," your life right now wouldn't be any different. Like any issues you might have in your life are still going to be there, whether you got that photo or not.
Yeah, but I'd be a little happier with a picture with Macho Man Randy Savage. All the issues I have that make me miserable, but having that photo would make me a little happier.
That was going to be my question. That'll probably be my final question before I wrap up my end of this. You said you'd be less miserable. Are you happy in your life? Are you miserable in your life? How do you feel as a middle-aged man with your place in this world?
Could have been better. Could have been better. That's how I feel. But,
see, there's plenty of time. You know that, right?
That's debatable. I'm old. I'm older than you guys.
You're a little bit older than me, not much.
No, I'm much. I think I'm a few years older than you at least.
No, I'm 45.
Okay. I guess I'm a little older than you then.
Yeah. I still feel like I have plenty of time here.
You have decades. If you actually, changed your life around and stopped eating old garbage Easter chocolate bunnies, perhaps.
Steve, were they even good? Those chocolate bunnies?
They were delicious. Yes, they tasted fine. They didn't even expire till a year later. Again, what's the big deal? They were sealed. They were sealed. They were perfect. They hadn't even been in the sun.
It's not objectively. It's not a big deal, right? We understand that it's sealed. That's not the point. The point is the social norm. That's the point.
I guess you're right. It's a good comparison to car sleeve. Like, it has a bad rep. Okay, you picked up something that was in the garbage, but it's fine. I guess the same kind of thing I was getting at with car sleeve. It has a bad rep, but it has a lot of benefits, which is why I do it.
No, I think your willingness, dare I even say eagerness, to violate social norms is why I find you hilarious. Because you, in some ways, I can't even land on whether you don't care or whether you're really good at acting like you don't care.
Well, I see it as outside the box thinking. That's a good way to put it. Outside the box thinking.
Go
ahead.
I think it's kind of fitting to you're kind of like the autograph games Andy Kaufman, where it's that never-ending question of, is this man for real or is this all just a gag? But I think, honestly, we uncovered here a little bit of truth, and I think what you're sharing about that you're generally not happy with your life, I mean, that's something in all walks of life. But I think in the combo game, there's probably a lot of us out there that maybe are not living the life that we think we should be, and we just sort of keep doing it. But you have time. Like, you are choosing to sleep in cars and look for food on the curb and wash in a gas station sink for 5 days. Like, you're choosing to do this. When the weather gets warm, you are choosing to do that again, rather than saying, well, this is the year I'm going to change my life.
Well, that's because I see photos that I desire. Oh, there's a good book signing in New York City for an A-lister. I want to go get that photo. So how am I going to do it? I got to get there the night before. I got to park my car, and I got to wake up, and I got to get the photo.
I honestly think that is the perfect way to end.
Yes.
This conversation. It was fascinating to me. I thank you, Steve, immensely for doing it. I know we didn't cover every topic we wanted to, or that you wanted to, or that I wanted. I think this. I don't think it's possible to cover now almost 20 years. Well, in your case,
insanity.
20 years of, and I see so much of like why I'm doing the things I'm doing, and I see very easily how I could get dragged into extreme types of behaviors, and that's why I kind of with my collecting, that the pendulum swings very violently, where I'm like, what, I'm not buying anything for the next year. I kind of set these artificial barriers for myself because I feel myself getting dragged in places that I don't want to necessarily get dragged into. So I absolutely feel what you're saying very very directly. So thank you for talking to us. It is almost midnight, and we went, I think, triple the length of time that we originally thought we were going to.
All right, hey, thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time, and to the listeners, if you enjoyed it, please tell the folks that marked out that you want me back. Maybe I'm happy to come back if they want me back. So I guess I hope to entertain the people, and I'll bid you all good night.
All right, so
thank you, Steve.
Love you, man.
Thank you, love you guys. Thank you for being here.
Bye. So I think we should call an audible here. We're 90 minutes in, and just punt everything else till next week. I don't know. I don't know if we want to put. Yeah, we're still on. Yeah, okay. I kicked Steve out of the room. I don't think it's wise to try to do all the stuff that we're gonna do. I don't think we're gonna do any justice. I need to also digest all of that, because I think so. All I'll say is this. I think that was considerably better than either of us predicted that it was going to be.
I thought like, if you've ever gone, which is a fitting comparison with class, if you ever went to a buffet at like the end of business hours and you see like the mashed potatoes, like whatever's left, like clinging to the bottom of the tray, that's sort of what I envision his brain as in 2025. And I don't know if we caught him on a lucid day or what, but Yeah, I kind of went into that with like a 25-minute hard out, and then he was giving what I thought were gems. I mean, there was definitely some tragedy mixed in there, which I think is sort of the human experience in a nutshell. And yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone wants a 4-hour episode from us. So.
I always said that. I've always said all these years that Steve is a super smart guy who is incredibly interesting, and that people really allow their egos. Everyone, no matter who they are, they really want to feel like they're better than someone else, and when you really listen to someone, you realize that's just not true. That if you're in this hobby, that we're all very, very, very slightly different shades of each other, but we're all this, part of the same. I don't even know. I lost the metaphor because it's so late, but we're really all cut from the same cloth, and we're just slightly different. And I think I've said this before to you, that a lot of people love to criticize Steve because he holds a mirror up to them. That his extreme approach to the hobby is what most of these people are just a half a step away from that.
I think that's largely correct, but I just want to without going into context and detail, because that would just keep this late night going even later. There are situations from the past and people that had issue with him that I think their beef is very real. I think maybe his transgressions in those moments are a little harder to reconcile. So I don't want to play off every sort of person that dislikes him in that way. But I think by and large, there's a lot of people that are maybe slightly less stinky on the street corner waiting for the celebrity, maybe slightly less weird, that want to start pointing fingers and yelling at him because it makes them feel better about the reflection that they kind of see in him.
And I think we need to separate board antics from hobby stuff too. But I really do believe that a lot of the stuff that he was doing was shtick. And I know people disagree. I know there are people who very adamantly disagree with that. But that's what I think. I think there's a lot of shtick, and I am an appreciator. I'm a connoisseur of shtick, so I get it.
And that is true. Board antics. I mean, I definitely said some very nasty things about K&S Ken's Pet Shop back in the day, in the spirit of good board banter. So, I mean, absolutely, I was not anyone perfect on the board, but I mean, absolutely, some of his board behavior was reprehensible. And, he had several bans over the years. Some lasted years. He was banned once for like 3 years, I think. I don't remember why exactly. They all kind of blend together. But in general, yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the cautionary tale of what happens if that glass of wine after work turns into 3 bottles, and
Is he like the John Rocker of Marked Out, or what is the analogy?
I mean, he's Office Rocker, and he bathes in John, so I guess in a sense he's the John Rocker of the hobby.
So we had all this stuff to talk about, and all of it got thrown out the window. I'm just looking at the show outline, and we didn't do anything. Goddamn thing, not a single thing.
And now the show graphic has to be class like he's eating garbage.
It was so funny. I'm reading the show notes. We didn't talk about a single thing. Not a single thing. Even, oh man,
it's all right.
It's so great. And yet I wonder how this is gonna sound. There were points during that we were laughing, both of us, so hard that we're crying. I was gonna pretend muting the mic. I don't know if it even came through. Oh my god. So anyway, if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at markedoutcollectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Autograph Collecting community on Facebook, which is continuing to grow. Looks like we're gonna hit 4,000 members very shortly.
Probably before we hit Rhode Island Comic Con coverage.
We're very close, very close. And new people are joining every day. New people are participating. We somehow we missed. We had some really great entries for Photo with Friday and Wicked Ink Wednesday. I think we'll just double up next time and talk about all this week's and next week. So what do you think? Or should we run through them fast now?
Nah, I think we'll double up.
All right, that makes sense. So there's some really cool stuff, and what's cool about it is that every week more new people are joining the group, and we're seeing what new people are posting and showing their collections and talking about their antics. What's actually funny is during this episode, my friend Kevin was texting me. He'll be joining us at the big event to help us work the table next week. And he texted me. He said, reading some of these recaps of cons, it's just a pit of anxiety. 4 hours of cutting it close and making split-second decisions. It's crazy. I don't know how you do it. And so he's kind of an outsider to this world, who has gotten sort of sucked into the marked out orbit a little bit. And it's I think it's a fitting kind of coda to our interview with Steve, because you meet Steve, you talk to Steve. Steve is a ball of anxiety like I've never seen anyone exist in, and it seems to permeate this hobby in really interesting ways. So in a week we will be at big event with a table, two tables. That's true.
A booth, if you will.
A booth. That's right. We'll have Swipe Right from WWE Evolve, and we will also have WWE Evolve champion Jackson Drake, and we will have the stunner Emily J. They're all four of them will be there from 10 to 2 on Saturday. If you have any last minute orders, if you can't be there, I'm not gonna lie, people, we sold a pretty decent number of Jackson Drake pre-orders for people who can't be there. This kid is starting to get some traction. But I think we pretty much, I know we keep beating this drum, but we've received kind of confirmation recently that these guys are not going to be available to us anymore. So, you come down, get your photo with them, get your autographs now when they're affordable and when these guys are accessible. And we really hope to see everyone at the big event in Brentwood, New York, on Saturday, November 15th?
That's it.
1 week from today. Well, and it'll be less than 1 week from when you hear this, unless I decide to drop it tonight. We'll see if I can stay awake.
I don't think you will.
No. You saw. I actually started drifting a few times during
that filibuster about car sleep.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a filibuster. That's fine. Then next week we'll hit you with conversation about the Rhode Island Comic Con. It was just a long day. I got up at 4 a.m. And it's now almost midnight. And I did take while we were waiting for Steve to get ready to come on the podcast, I took a 15-minute power nap or 10-minute power nap. How long was it?
Around 15.
15-minute power nap. You thought I wasn't going to be able to get up. Did I have any trouble getting up?
You didn't.
I did. I can do a 15-minute power nap, and it actually helped me survive this. So.
You were able to get up. Class was mostly coherent throughout. Yeah. I mean, I'm shocked on several levels.
He just sent the text apologizing for swearing, but I think his swears were well placed, so I don't have any problem. So I think that's it for this one. This is a very unique form. I'm very curious how Class draws as an interview. Our best drawing interview guest so far was the good Dr. Dylan Hines. So we'll see if Class can surpass that. I'm going to be honest, I thought that was great. It was fascinating. And I feel like we barely scratched the surface of this guy.
Listen, if Class beats Dylan Hines, I think we have to have an interview coming up where Class interviews the good Dr. Dylan Hines. I think that would sort of break the internet and our sanity.
I think it's like when matter and antimatter collide. So you get just sort of nothing. So thanks for listening. For markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
We will see you next week at the big event.